I woke up drunk this morning. My eyes were bloodshot. I could tell this as my eyes had a full dull sting to them. My head was thumping. Throat was hoarse. Hell, even my dick had a bit of a violent sting to it. Wait a minute. Why is there an unmatched set of bra and panties on my floor? I got out of bed and went to the Kazi. As I relieved my bowels with an almighty explosion, I looked around and realised that this wasn't my cabin. I could tell this as there was ladies' things sat upon the shelf, such as makeup, a box of tampons and a flannel hanging off of the taps. Even the toilet paper was soft. Definitely a lady's cabin. As the next bowel movement erupted, I started to piece together the events from last night. We're in the Caribbean party night. The usual suspects were in the smoking room of the crew bar. There was a group of shoppies, the group of spa girls, and a handful of my team. Even the art dealer was there. There's a big pile of beer on the table and a few bottles of rum, but no mixers. There was never any mixers with this group, the ship's finest drinkers. The lights went down and the music started to pump, and I looked out of the fishbowl to see a packed dance floor with its usual inhabitants of Indian crew. That dance floor was usually a sausage fest. Most of the girls would be in the smoking room or at the edge of the dance floor. This, I think, is a built-in safety feature for women. When outnumbered 10 to 1, stay away from the middle or you'll be goosed, groped or grinded by the mob of desperation. The pile of beer was slowly being depleted as we were all getting merrier. Then over the course of about 20 minutes or so, we found our way to the dance floor. I had a can of beer in my left hand and a 4-pack in my right, held by the webbing. And a 4-pack on my right, held by the webbing. I have to admit that I was trying to be a man whore that night by doing a bit of grinding with a few of the girls I know, all done in jest as we always do this. I'll tell you now, it's hard trying to shack with both hands clutching beer, but hey, I didn't want anyone else to drink it. I remember the Macarena being played. The whole dance floor formed orderly lines to do this. Compelling but terrible dance. I remember that the Indian music was slipped in and we were all going hard to dubstep Bhangra. I have to say that it's an interesting take on both genres. The dance floor was getting full of people steam. We all started to dampen up as the bass lines dropped. As soon as it had started, the party was over and the crew bar had closed. My associates and I went back to the smoking room. A debate broke out over who would host the cabin party. My cabin was out of the question as the incident with the smoke alarms meant that I was being watched by the bridge. The Canadian from my team volunteered his cabin. We all took a big swig of rum and made our way down to the deck 6 forward. Deck 6 forward was a petty officer area. My cabin was also located there in the same horseshoe corridor as the party. By the time I had arrived, I stopped off en route to pick up more rum from my diminishing collection. The party had already sprawled out into the corridor. I passed through the crowd of rowdy revellers and shoehorned my way into the Canadian's cabin. He had removed the hydrostatic lights from his complement of life jackets, dipped them in water and set them off, and hey presto, we had some strobe lights. The main lights were off and the bulkhead light was covered in a blue lighting filter. Cabin 6102 was now a thriving nightclub. Music was pumping out and there was a huge clusterfuck of people dancing in this tiny cabin. I opened up my raspberry rum and took a massive gulp. I then passed it around, tipping it down the necks of those fine-looking girls. More grinding took place, more gulps of rum. The bottle was finished in 10 minutes flat. I opened up another bottle, this time of strawberry rum. That had the same fate as the last. It didn't last long, as both were too easy to drink. This shoppy girl in Newcastle that I was grinding with, I have to say, gave me a bit of a semi-on. She noticed this and we started to make out. In between snugging, we were tipping more rum down our necks. At one point she took a massive swig and kissed me. Tonsil hockey with rum in the middle was exciting to say the least. I know that she enjoyed this as much as I did. Guided me to the Canadian's toilet. We forced our way in there and a huge plume of smoke hit us in the face. There must have been 5 people in this pokey little cubby hole. I lit a cigarette and she gently removed it from my lips, gave me a quick peck on the lips and started to smoke it. Naturally, I pulled out another cigarette and lit it. The guy that was sat on the throne got up and I slipped myself on it before anyone else could take the throne. She sat on my lap facing me and went in for more snogging. All of a sudden there was some banging on the door. "Party's over, people," I heard. Fuck, I thought to myself. We've been grassed up. I was right. We were rumbled by the night manager and we quickly got out. On our exit, I saw a discarded unopened bottle of rum and promptly swiped it. Newcastle grabbed my hand and we tore down the corridor. We ran down the stairs and ended up on deck 4. We slowed down and as we approached her cabin, she got out her Laminex card and opened up the door, hit the lights and we went in. Within seconds, she dropped her dress and started to pour rum all over her breasts. I removed her bra and she forced my face into those ripe, tasty pair of knockers. It was beautiful. I enjoyed every minute of removing that rum, sucking it all up like a vacuum cleaner. I took off my garish Hawaiian shirt and dropped my shorts. She pushed me on the bed and shit. She even skipped the foreplay and started to ride me dry. She picked up the bottle of rum and was swigging from it and shouting "Yeehaw!" as she was riding me. We must have been going for about 5 minutes. Well, to be honest, who the fuck knows how much time actually passed, as I was quite trashed and so was she. She started to go faster and faster, then it hit. She didn't have a cum face at all. Her eyes watered and her cheeks expanded. With a belch and a roar, an ecstasy-worthy spray of vomit ruptured out of her, covering the bed and myself. The walls were splattered with chunks of acidic, diluted rum. I was horrified as I coincidentally shot my load as the vomit explosion happened. I looked at her as I wiped a chunk of what could only be described as decimated carrot from my brow. She looked at me back all timid and embarrassed. She spewed up again, this time all over my chest. Shit, I'm still inside her. Then with an almighty crack, pain setting, she arced her back a bit too much and she took my dick in the direction that it wasn't designed to go. I let out a yelp. She pulled herself off me and fell to the floor. I scrambled and rolled in agony and fell off the bed, landing in a puddle of vomit and onto my still erect dick. Once more I felt another burst of pain. She came over to me and laid her head on my vomit-covered chest. She started to stroke my battered cock as to console me. After about 10 minutes or so, I gained enough strength to pick the both of us up and carry us to the toilet and put us into the shower. We cleaned up, wiped down the walls of the tarnished bedding and threw them into the shower. I made the bed and we both passed out all snuggled up.